Illuminating white text appears that says, "A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away." Now, curvy golden yellow text stationary in the middle of the screen with stars flying by through hyperspace that reads, "Theory of a Blind Man." Golden yellow text begins to crawl from the bottom of the screen upwards. Episode 2, the live stream strikes back. After the separation of content uploads and live streams, this channel is dedicated to live streaming guests, gaming, proclivities and pondering of the fate of the galaxy. Darth Whistler reigns over these channels and his message will be heard with the help of many others presenting information for all to absorb. The text continues to crawl away from view deep into the infinity of space. For those of you willing to watch and listen to live streaming and participate in the chat, the live stream strikes back at a new upload channel with prizes and galactic credits to make you rebels come rich beyond your wildest dreams. But Darth Whistler is not satisfied until the triad of the Force has been completed, and so there lays another in wait deep in space and will soon be revealed. May the dark side of the Force be with you. As the last of the text disappears, we are left with stars flying by view in hyperspace, then fade to black.
Alrighty, good evening everybody. Welcome to the show, Theory of a Blind Man. We've got a special show for you tonight. And it should be a good one. It'll be interesting for sure. Tonight's special guest is Mary Church, who is, what I found out, first of all, is a Braille advocate and might as well be a historian, I think. So this will be good. Let me go ahead and add her to the stream. There she is. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. It's been a little over a week since we first contacted, and you posted a bunch of good stuff on Braille on Twitter, so it's kind of what I want to do is a Braille show, because I've never done anything about Braille before, except Braille Legos. So, yeah. Why don't you go ahead and start off by giving us a little bit of background about yourself or about anything.
So, I am totally blind. I have been blind all my life with a rare condition called Lori disease. I was actually the first female in the world diagnosed with it, but other
Wow.
females have been found with it. It's congenital. So I started learning Braille around age 2 or 3, and my parents really wanted to give me a head start because they didn't know what my cognitive ability would be, and I took to it really quickly. And I really don't know, I don't remember a day in my life when I didn't have Braille or know what it was or know where to get it. I am a college student now at Capella University. I study psychology. I'm almost done with my BS program, which is very exciting. I've had a lot of different things in the way, but I'm I'm almost done, and I plan to pursue a master's and become a practicing psychologist.
Nice. Nice. Really quick, let me say hi to In Darkness, First Moon, Ed, Armando Baez, and Blind Toes. Thanks for being in the chat. Appreciate it. And don't forget to queue up your questions when the time comes. So, as far as Braille goes, you've been doing it since 2 or 3 years old. What is the importance to you of knowing Braille?
So, Braille has allowed me to really excel in what I do. I know a lot of people who don't use Braille who are really good at what they do, but for me, it's really been the catalyst of going into the sciences and going into STEM, because I didn't think I could do that before. I had a really rough time with math in school, even though I was learning Braille and reading it. But a lot of blind people are told, you can't do math because it's so spatial and it's so visual. But after I graduated high school, I went to a blindness training center, and then I went back to college, and I decided that, hey, you know what? I'm going to retake my assessment that put me into elementary arithmetic, which I shouldn't have been in, and was a nightmare because of the professor. So I decided I was going to take it instead of accept the bad grade that I got, and I passed into algebra. And I had one of the most amazing teachers I could have ever asked for, and she was not blind, but she was able to listen and problem solve with me. And so now I am in a science program and getting my bachelor's of science. And I am going to be taking my second statistics course, which is exciting. And I probably wouldn't have said that to you a couple of years ago. But that is how kind of Braille can really help someone. And it has also helped me in learning languages, Spanish. I've done a lot of orals and stuff for classes, but you also need to learn how to write Spanish and other languages. And Braille helps to know where the accent marks are. And that's something that we don't really always think about when we learn a language, but it's there. So Braille has really helped me do that, and I really don't know where I would be without it.
It's quite amazing that we can have instructors or professors who just don't have a clue and don't have the patience, but then yet sometimes, like you said, you had that great professor and they can really take the time to troubleshoot.
It's really interesting because the one professor I had didn't even feel safe having me in her class for whatever reason. And the other one was just like, hey, you know what? Come see me after class. We'll have some fun. We'll do math together and it's going to be okay.
Just going through the chat really quick to see if there's anything. In Darkness says thumbs up. Cheers. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Oh, I cannot pronounce that name. Sorry. Galena, maybe? I'm not quite sure. Maybe that's one of your fans. Who knows? Yeah, so what is it, like 5 or 10% is how many blind people actually know Braille, or has that gone up?
Yeah, unfortunately the Braille literacy rate is staggeringly low. It's 10%, if that. And although, I mean, Audible books and audiobooks are amazing because they I mean, let's face it, it's easier to do that than to put something in Braille at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But with, it's so important that kids learn to spell and looks like and what different spatial orientations look like in Braille, and been involved in events that help to spread awareness about Braille and show kids that Braille is basically just like print. It's just dots, but you get the same information. And so that's kind of why I do what I do, is just to show that Braille is not it's not super difficult. It's not foreign. It's not another way of getting information of how to the different things that we need and observe on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, one thing that I keep telling people about Braille is it's kind of like the root, the fundamental language for blind people. And, if electronics ever go down, we've got Braille. It's just like print, like someone writing a letter or something. It's, technology, let's face it, isn't perfect, and it does go out. And so when we've got Braille, we've got something to fall back on.
It's really not even considering same words, but yeah, and but yeah, you're right, it's super important.
Now I just recently heard, I can't remember who told me this, but are they trying to universalize Braille and changing some contractions and whatnot? Is there like a movement to make one Braille for everybody? Oh, did we lose you? Now before we got started, everybody, she did let me know that she's got kind of a bad connection, so that's kind of what we're dealing with. So we'll see.
Sorry, it was cutting out.
There we go. Yeah. So is it true that they're trying to make one universal Braille for everything? Well, for languages at least.
Yeah. So the thing with the universal Braille is, basically, they want to just make it easier for people who are traveling around the world to understand what the Braille is saying. So other languages will still be other languages. But the thing with the UEB, which is Universal English Braille, that came out probably like 2004 14 or 15. I don't really remember. I know it was when I was starting college. Basically, the idea is to unite English Braille. So if I go to the UK, the Braille will be exactly the same as it is in the United States. Before then, it was a little bit different, but understandable. But they really want to make there not be so many codes in Braille. And even before that, it's really interesting to read about. But when Braille was initially made, if I went to visit you and say you lived in Massachusetts, I wouldn't be able to read the Braille there because it would be a completely different code. And it took a really, really long time for Braille to be established as one unified code, even just in the United States and North America, because people didn't really know. Well, they knew, but they couldn't decide on how different things would be written. And
Mm-hmm.
then North American Braille happened, and we have the Braille Authority of North America. And then recently Unified English Braille happened, and that was a very interesting transition. I still don't know my opinion on that yet.
Mm-hmm.
But it's basically to, number one, unify all of English Braille, and also there are some new things in that code, like bullet points and stuff that used to not be there.
Mm. What are your thoughts? Blind Toes asks, "What are your thoughts on musical Braille? Have you ever read it or studied anything with music?"
What was the question? I'm sorry.
What are your thoughts on musical Braille?
Yeah.
Have you ever do you play any instruments to where you use musical Braille or?
Yeah, I play the piano. I play classical piano, and I did try to learn music, Braille music, and I know a little bit of when I was learning the piano, I was going through a ton of transitions at the same time. So that was something that I had to let go of for a little while, but I really want to pick for pretty much.
Oh, we lost you again. Yeah, there's a pretty bad buffer going on. Roots for sure. Does Mary think Braille is easier to learn as a child? We'll get to that question. Yeah, there's a bad connection.
Do I think Braille is easier than white?
Oh, we almost had you. If you could maybe get closer to your router or your Wi-Fi, that might help a little bit. If you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so one of the questions was, do you think Braille is easier to learn as a child? I would think so.
I think so, yeah. Just because I never learned print before. So, I mean, I know what the print letters look like, and I know what raised letters look like and stuff, but because I learned it at such a young age, I was really not totally exposed to anything else. And I mean, I have a sister, and she's 13 months older, and I knew that she read print, but because I was so young, I didn't really know what that meant. So I just thought that was I thought that was just Braille in a different way.
Mm.
But yeah, I think that it was a little bit easier, but I still think that anybody can learn it. I have friends who decided to switch to Braille because print was getting a little bit too hard on the eyes. And
Mm.
I'm really proud of the people who have decided to do that. And even just even just for a couple different tasks, they feel that it's been super helpful. But to answer the question, the short answer is yes.
There is actually a psychologist who teaches her students who have dyslexia using Braille. And apparently it's been extremely successful. So I found that interesting.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Um, let's go into some history about Braille. What do you know? How did Braille get started? Who's Louis, etc., etc.?
So, Louis Braille was a Frenchman in the 1800s from the town of Couperet. He was born sighted and he became blind by sort of an accident in his father's leather making workshop where he accidentally hurt his eye with an awl, and then that got infected and it spread, and so he became blind, totally blind. And at around his parents sent him to the school for the blind, and this was the same school for the blind that started the education system for blind people in the United States. One of the founders of Perkins School for the Blind went to France. He saw blind students learning and working at this school. So Louis started at this school, but was very absorbed the same information that all of his counterparts and family members were reading. And that was very difficult at that time because the only books that they had were raised line. And they were very expensive to make, and they were very bulky. And so the library only consisted of 2 or 3 books. And
oh wow,
that made Louis pretty happy. He really wanted to read. And so one day, as it happened, some of the branches of the armed forces and used like pretty much Morse code to communicate at night without lights or in dark tunnels at work, places like that. So Louis Braille had this idea that if these people can communicate in the dark, why can't I make a system that would help blind people to read? And so he started the first, what would become, people didn't believe in it, but pretty successful. And it eventually became the official reading medium for the blind in France, and then later in the United States and all around the world.
Oh, that's fascinating. So what parts do you play as far as Braille education goes nowadays? Oop, I think we lost her again. Hit up the chat. Darkness is very cool. Let's see, Ed said something earlier. There's also a grade school teacher. Yeah, that's the one that I'm talking about, Ed. For sure. Oh, I already read that one. You there, Mary? May have lost her. Let me check. Nope, still here. Good. I apologize for the bad connection, everybody, but this is what we're working with. Hopefully you guys are getting something out of this. Oops. I forgot to get rid of the video. I'm sorry. Get rid of that. Whoops. There we go. Alrighty, are you back?
Okay, I'm back. I am
There we go.
so sorry.
That's okay. Like I said, technology fails. Braille does not. Unless you don't know how to spell. So, I was asked, what did I ask? Oh yeah, what part are you playing as far as Braille literacy or Braille education today?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
What part do you play in Braille literacy or Braille education and advocacy today?
Hold on one second. This thing is... Okay. Can you repeat that one more time? I'm so sorry.
Yeah. What part do you play in Braille literacy, education, and advocacy today? I mean, you seem very knowledgeable in Braille history, so obviously
Yeah,
you like to
so,
talk about it. Did not catch that. You might want to repeat that. I think what we'll have to do is work out a way to get a better connection if possible. I don't know if you have a
it
computer
looks
that you can
like we're
plug.
leveling
There you
out.
What's that? Computer, stop. I don't know why she just started talking. Yeah, so I don't know if you've got a computer that you can plug into your internet router or not. That would help out with the buffering for sure. So yeah, welcome Dave. Welcome to the chat, brother. In Darkness just doxed you. Kinda. So what we will do is work on another show. Pretty much do this one over. Hopefully get a better connection on Mary's end if we can work that out. The computer may be a better bet, but I know she does. I think I know that she uses hearing aids with the phone, which makes it easier for her to hear things. And I think that's one of the problems we may be having. But we will figure it out. And oh, there she is back. Oops. This way. Alrighty, you there?
Okay. I'm back, and I hope this works.
Yeah, so we'll give it a shot again. I'd asked about your involvement with Braille literacy, advocacy, and education, and that's when you started cutting out, so we couldn't hear your answer. Did you catch that?
Okay, so yeah, basically what I have done throughout my life is to educate people about Braille. I'm really lucky to have a sister who is 13 months older than I am, and she went to a public school. And each year, from probably third to about sixth grade, the kids learned about Braille, and they were so excited to have somebody who could actually read it and write their names in Braille. And I decided that, I was going in school and not getting Braille and not having explanation. And I decided that I would help educate other students too about not just my sister's class, but other classes about Braille. And
Mm.
so I did that. I would go to them and I entered contests, Braille reading contests. Um, and I did really well with them. And it really wasn't something that I wanted to get credit for. I just wanted people to know that Braille is basically just another way to get information, and blind people use it. And it's not a foreign language, it's not something completely impossible to learn. It's essentially just another way to get information. And I think that in my town at least, that message kind of got across.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's awesome. I'm gonna check the chat really quick, see if there's any other questions. Dave is in the chat. Welcome, Dave. Welcome, Dave. Thanks for being here. Mm. So, is there anything else that you'd like people to know about Braille? Oh, tell me we didn't lose her again. Okay, so like I said, we're gonna work on another show. I find this fascinating. I hope you guys do too. Just especially the history of Braille. We can get more into depth too. So we're gonna try to find or figure out a better connection for her. And yeah, so thank you guys for watching. You can share it if you want. Um, Not quite sure how much you'll get out of it. It was really difficult to hear through the buffering, but some of it you could get. So that was good. Let's see what's going on later tonight, around 8 ish. Around 8 ish, we'll be on Starlet's channel doing the Friday night show, like we said we would. So head over there, youtube.com/Starlet Soul, Starlet with an I, STARLIT Soul. And you can watch us there for our usual Friday show that we've brought back. So thank you guys all for joining me, and stay tuned for further updates with another show with Mary, and we will figure out the buffering issue, hopefully. So until next time, everybody, take care, and don't forget, love is blind. Keep it blind.